Very eager.
Yes, I consider myself very happy, and I've done that many times in my life.
Do you think happiness comes at a certain age to a woman, or do you think it comes with a set of circumstances?
I think many people are very happy, but they don't realize it at the time. You know, they always talk about the good old times or something. And I think we should be very grateful for the time that is now. We should realize what we have this particular moment.
What is it that you do have now that makes you happy?
I have my children and they're well. You see, I consider good health very important in life. And I have a husband whom I love and who loves me, and I have a happy home. And I live where I want to live, which is in France and in Sweden. And I have work.
Why do you live in France?
Oh, I like that very much. I don't know. When I was very younger in Sweden, before I went to America, I always dreamt about coming to France to live. I don't know if it was because I was inspired by Joan of Arc, and I'd heard so much about La Douce France. But actually, it's been the country that I always longed to live in. And of course, it was a long road because I went from Sweden, America, Italy, but finally I came to France.
Miss Bergman, you have an advantage over many actresses in that you can speak several languages. Do you find there's any particular language in which you enjoy acting most?
English is the easiest. Of course, Swedish might be easy too, but I haven't done it for so long. Maybe I have an accent by now. But English is almost like my own language.
Do you find that the parts you can play in English are the parts you want to play, or do you have to look to other languages for parts sometimes?
No, no, I don't. I mean, they are translatable. Or I played Hedda Gabler in French, for instance. It isn't that I look for a French play to play it in French. And Teen Sympathy I played on the stage, and it was an American play translated into French. So that makes no difference.
Which part have you enjoyed playing most of all in your career?
Well, there were many of them. You see, it's easier for me almost to tell you the parts I didn't like.
Well, tell me that.
I'd rather not. But Joan of Arc, as I say, she's always meant very much for me, and I think that picture and the play and the oratorium that I did, and I also did it here in London many years ago, that meant very much for me. And then I must say that Gaslight, For Whom the Bell Tolls, and Anastasia, Saratoga, well, I don't know. There are so many of them that I don't know.
Now that you can choose practically any part you like, is there any part you particularly want to play?
I look particularly now for something that's amusing, because I feel that we need to make people laugh. Or it has to be something so important, really great, so that people feel something, but it's so difficult to find those subjects. And I rather do something that is a funny picture than something that doesn't have some real profound meaning.
Do you look for parts to play where the character is about your own age, or do you...
Oh yes, of course. You can't get away from your own age. And especially in a picture, you might be able to cheat a couple of years if God has been good to you. But otherwise I think you better stay. I mean, on the stage, I know that you can get away with many years difference.
Somebody said to me the other day that an actress can't really act until she's old. Would you agree with that?
Well, no, I don't. I think there are young actors, I have seen so many marvelous performances by young people that are 25. But, of course, one hopes that with the years we mature and we have more experience and that we have gone through maybe more things, because I do think that we take from life and from what we've gone through to portray certain feelings. So we should be able to be a little better as the years go by.
If given that one is the sum of one's experiences, which I quite agree with you, is there anything you would change in your life if you could, if you went back over it?
Well, it depends upon now. If you mean I should go back over my life, not knowing the life I have lived, then I would live exactly the same life. If I had a new life and I would be conscious that this life I have lived this way, I'm sure that there are certain things I would change, yes. I mean, I might be able to have learned something.
Is there any quality which you, as a person, try to bring to your acting, which you think is very important to acting?
I think a heart, warm feeling towards the character you're playing. I mean, that you understand it, because if you understand the character that you're playing, then the audience should be able to understand it. So I'm very clear. and logical in my thinking. And then I think it's the sense of humor that I try to bring to any character, even a tragic character. I think there has to be a little humor in it.
You say warmth, Miss Bergman. Now, Scandinavians are always supposed not to be able to show their feelings very well. Is that true of you?
Yes, they are supposed to be controlled, but not to be cold people. They seem cold maybe because we are not easily excited. We don't get into temperamental fits. We are taught as children not to show our feelings, and maybe in a way it's good, and in another way maybe it's not so good, because we also maybe don't always show a warm feeling towards a person. We're afraid to just lay ourselves bare, so there might be a lack of generosity. You know what I mean? But it isn't. It's just an education that you're not supposed to just, scream and yell or cry too much or laugh too much. I think they come the golden middle.
Miss Bergman, thank you very much indeed.
We'll go now.
And we'll have to write some drama for you, huh?
Yes, I feel a little bit shaky. I have to go home.
Okay, well, we'll take you
To the
right
new
away.
home, to the English home.
Okay. All right.
First it was the makeup. I used in Sweden a little bit of makeup, but everybody was very surprised I looked so healthy. And I remember Selznick coming up, touching me to see if really it was my own red cheeks, and I blushed very easily. And he was delighted with that, so he put me on camera. And I have seen it recently in, there was a documentary about David Selznick, and I'm in that. With the, the sign like that, yeah. And it says Ingrid Bergman, screen test, no makeup. And that was to see what effect it would give on the screen to blush. I would go from pale to red.
Did it work?
It didn't work. No, it didn't work because I was red all the time because of the lights being so hot. Orson and I hardly know each other. We've never worked together. And I haven't even been married to him. I think the real reason why I'm here must be that I work across the street. So it's easy to run over after the show. It is also easy to come when I was asked if I would appear for a tribute to Orson Welles. I think that it must have been a great burden for him to have made a masterpiece when he was 24 years old. And it must have been very hard to live up to under all those years. And also, I've been working in Europe when Orson Welles was working in Europe. And we had hardships, both of us. Maybe that's another sign one here. I knew how he was working, and you saw pictures produced by Orson, directed by Orson, written by Orson, narration by Orson, acted by Orson, and clothes by Orson. He had done everything. Still, he had his troubles, and the joke started in Europe saying that Orson Welles is running out of countries. Now he has come back to his own country, and in great style and Hemingway, where he had photographs of
Gary Cooper, whom he said I absolutely wrote this part for him, and this part I've written for Ingrid Bergman, and he had other photographs. So I said, well, somebody has to do something. The part was given to another actress who went up, cut her hair, and went up in the Nevada mountains and started. And I was very, very desperate about that. And Mr. Hemingway was going to China, and he was leaving from San Francisco. So Mr. Selznick suggested I go up and try to get hold of him. I did get hold of Mr. Hemingway, and we met, had lunch, and I said, somebody else is playing the part that you want me to play. And he said, you'll get it, you'll get it. And I said, well, do something. You're leaving for China, and what can I do? He said, I don't know, I have a feeling you'll get it. And 3 weeks after, I was called up, and they said, we've changed our plans. We're taking off the actress who is playing it now, and are you willing to cut your hair? And I said, I'm willing to cut my head, if I can get that part. So then I moved it up and played Maria.
Were you happy?
Terribly happy. It was so beautifully written. You know, you get dialogue sometimes, you have a feeling that you have to elaborate on it. You have to do something to cover up some weaknesses in it. And Hemingway's dialogue was so beautiful that you only had to say it, and it was all there.
And you liked working with Cooper in it because it was written for him as well.
Yes.
And he was, most fantastic star as far as I can see.
Yes, they don't come anymore.
Was he good to work with?
Gary Cooper? Yes, he was the most natural actor I've ever worked with. He read his dialogue so that you didn't recognize it. You thought he was just talking to you. And you said, oh, yes, it's a scene we're playing. A very, very sweet and adorable and very shy person.
Was he?
Yes, he was very shy, very worried. And I mean, I think he could, I don't think he would ever be able to do an interview like the one we are doing now. He was so shy that he wouldn't be able to just sit and talk and chat.
There are some actors who are really and truly great, like him, who are themselves sort of magnified on the screen.
Yeah, America liked that very much. I mean, you could see that from Spencer Tracy and Humphrey Bogart and whatever. Humphrey Bogart always used the same raincoat and the same hat. I mean, he didn't have to change. They wanted to buy that ticket and see the same thing. Yeah, but coming from Sweden, we had a different opinion about that. You go to a dramatic school, you play different parts, and it was for us a challenge to try to change. But America isn't that way. They want to have that personality and over the same thing.
Sam, I thought I told you never to play.
It's strange, isn't it? And I saw the picture the other day here in London.
Oh, did you?
But I hadn't seen the picture for so long. And it was amazing how good that picture was. To see it again now with the marvelous actors that were in every small part. So I understand that a picture like that has become really, as you say, a cult picture. It's a classic in America, and they do it all over and over on television, and people have seen it I don't know how many times.
Sam, I thought I told you never to play.
And it's remarkable because when we did it, we had no faith in it at all because the script was so bad. And it was written day by day. There was nothing clear about it. And we didn't know where we were going. And I didn't know which man I was supposed to really love. So they say, can't you do the love scenes just a little in between? Don't put too much seriousness in it because we really don't know with which man you're going to end up. And I said, but how am I going to do that? And they said, well, play it cool. And then in the end, they said, we're going to shoot it both ways. And when we came to the end, the first ending was that I went away with my husband in the plane and flew off, and they said, this is it. We don't have to do the second ending because this is just fine. So to the very end, they didn't know what the picture was going to be. And then cutting it all together with all the difficulties and the arguments and the rewrites, and here comes this absolutely beautiful movie.
Inside of us, we both know you belong with Victor. You're part of his work, the thing that keeps him going. If that plane leaves the ground and you're not with him, you'll regret it. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon and for the rest of your life.
But what about us?
We'll always have Paris. We didn't have. We lost it until you came to Casablanca. We got it back last night.
In the final version of Casablanca, you did go off with
Yes,
Paul Henry.
yes,
What did you instinctively feel would be the best?
Oh, I would have liked to stay with Humphrey Bogart.